Hi, I'm Sive. I'm going to be taking you through a regular reading week with me. This is a standard work week, and I thought it would be fun to walk you guys through what my reading looks like. Today is Sunday, so we're going to go Sunday to Sunday, and I am starting out with Atmosphere. I have been reading this newest Taylor Jenkins Reid novel for the past almost week, so it is very much time for me to finish this book. I'm on page 250 out of 330 something. Reading is a large part of my life. I read every day pretty much. It is my main hobby, and I typically always have 2 books going at one time, and the only way that I'm really able to do this is by having 2 different formats. So I've got my physical read here this week, starting out with Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid, like I said, and my audiobook listen at the moment is The Seventh Veil of Salome by Silvia Moreno Garcia. Let's start the week off right. We're gonna do a Sunday afternoon coffee and a little 30-minute reading sprint just to kick off my reading for the afternoon. I will say Sunday afternoons and evenings, most of the time I do have at least one plan on either of those times in the evening or earlier in the afternoon. That is not the case for today. So we are going to enjoy our afternoon of reading together. We've got some football on, and I have a dinner to cook tonight. It will be a quiet day at the house, doing some resetting and resting. So let's get to reading. We got it.
So when I got to high school, that wasn't...
Hi, I just finished Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. What is exceptional about Taylor Jenkins Reid's writing is just the ability to craft compelling characters, and her storytelling is very addictive and fast-paced without losing the depth of characters that in the conclusion are ultimately what packs such a hard punch. I've enjoyed a lot of Taylor Jenkins Reid's stories. The notable ones are indeed The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, Daisy Jones and the Six, Malibu Rising, Carrie Soto is Back. I enjoy all of those books, and I was excited to see that she was tackling such a vast subject as space travel and NASA and an astronaut being a main character. Okay, I switched all around because the lighting was just really backlit, but anyways, I did enjoy this story a lot. I definitely don't think that there was as much of a personal compulsion to pick this up as I've experienced from her stories in the past. I think that is more to do with where I'm at as a reader in my own like personal life, and less like a story, like a fault of the stories. I think I'm gonna give this a 4-star. If I did half ratings, it would be a 3.5, but I just really cannot in my heart bring myself to rate this a 3 on Goodreads. This is probably my least favorite of the Taylor Jenkins Reads that I've read, but the fact that I still loved it is like really telling. I'm going to probably pick up something else tonight and start a new physical read to bring with me into my work week, but I don't know what that's gonna be just yet. I would like it to be a horror book because I feel like with reading Atmosphere and then also reading The Seventh Veil of Salome, which is a historical fiction, I feel like I want horror now. So I'll probably look at what I've got in my physical library and pick something from there. First book of the week down, but I was really towards the end already, only read like 80 pages of it. So we're counting it, but like not really. Well, very exciting things are about to happen.
Oh yeah.
Hi, it's Monday evening and exciting things are happening. We're in the library. Jared is making a fire, which is going to be really nice. South Carolinian weather has been so warm to cool and back to warm in the last couple of weeks. Like on Saturday, maybe 3 days ago, we were walking around outside in shorts and t-shirt, and now it's like actually cold. We need to take the plants in.
Yeah.
Our evening has begun. I'm making some pasta. We're gonna do some spaghetti tonight. I'm on my my day bed, which we set up in the library so that I can enjoy the fire. And I wanted to tell you about the books I've been reading today. The most progress has been made in The Seventh Veil of Salome, or Salome as the audiobook says. I haven't told you at all about this book. This is a historical fiction following a couple of different people. Essentially, it's set in 1950s Hollywood as these two actresses are vying for the main role in this beautiful, upcoming, like, big historical fiction film called The Seventh Veil of Salome. We follow Vera and Nancy. Vera is the one who is cast for the main role, and Nancy is really mad about it. These two characters are very different, and the fun spin on this novel is that we actually also follow Salome herself from biblical times. She's the stepdaughter of a king named Herod, which, if you're familiar with like your Bible, Herod is a king of Israel during a volatile time, and the kingdom is split. So there's like politics happening. Essentially, Salome falls in love with a prophet that she shouldn't know like even exists, and her story is for sure 100% a tragedy. So that's who we're reading from. So far, I wouldn't say I'm enjoying this. Honestly, I wish it was more interesting. I wish there was more stuff happening and less character building. The plot is not as strong as I wanted it to be. I know that it is interesting, but the pacing is just incredibly slow right now. And because there are not necessarily the main characters we're following, but everybody orbiting them are such awful people that it makes me really not want to pick up this book. I know the way Salome herself, her story ends. The only person who I have questions about are Vera and Nancy. I definitely wish I was enjoying this a little bit more, but I was able to read a good amount today. I had already started this. I've probably read 60 pages or so today, which is pretty good. I am probably close to the 60% mark. I definitely think I can finish this week, but I am not enjoying it as much as I want to be. Pause, I'm gonna go check on dinner. Okay, I apologize for the kitchen noises, but dinner has to be made. I'm so hungry. I will just tell you, The Wasp Factory is my next read. So I picked this up last night. I only made it 30 pages into it, and that is what I'm going to be reading and getting into tonight. There is some football on later, and I'm not stressing about reading a bunch right now. I'm gonna enjoy this fire and my spaghetti, so hope you guys are having a great week. Okay, hi. We are wrapping up our Tuesday, almost. I am home from work, but Jared's about to walk in the door. I'm gonna try and do this quickly. We're gonna make some chili. It's our church group tonight. So let me tell you what I read today. I finished The Seventh Veil of Salome by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. I unfortunately will say that I did not connect with this one very much for some of the same reasons I was talking about last night. I wish the ending hit harder. I wish the characters were more fleshed out. I wish the plot had more going on. Like, it was just a slow-paced book. There's often times that I realize with Sylvia Moreno Garcia that I'm enjoying a historical fiction, which is not really my bread and butter, but I still try them, and I was really feeling like this was a historical fiction when I was reading it, if that makes sense. I have also made a quite dramatic decision to DNF The Wasp Factory. This writing is not for me. He's wandering through their property. He's like, hey, this is the bank that I was at when I was 7, and this is what my cousin said to me. That's my cat. And it's just boring. The main character's brother has been away in like a hospital because he committed this really egregious crime. It's kind of a hospital, but kind of a prison sentence. At the beginning of the story, Eric escapes, and the main character and his dad are like reached out to by a constable or whatever detective on the case, was like, hey, if Eric reaches out to you or comes by the house, like, you should let us know. Eric does indeed reach out to our main character. I think his name is Frank, and Frank chooses to not tell anybody. It's on the back of the book, so I'm not going to say that this is a spoiler warning, but if you would want to go into this book like absolutely blind, I am going to tell you something here. Frank has killed people, and he's killed 3 people. None of this is recent necessarily, like it was years ago, and that was originally something that intrigued me, but it's not a large part of this narrative at all. So far we just have a lot of animal abuse and this one young man basically running around a property and like doing whatever the heck he wants. Him talking about the people he killed was maybe like a 1-page long, not in depth, not really like giving us a lot of backstory. And I recognize that me DNFing this at only 52 pages in is not giving it the whole shot, but Out of 180 pages, if at 50 it's not grabbing me, I think it's a DNF. And I was reading this last night after I was about to say got off the phone with you. I was reading this last night after talking to you. I managed 22 pages. 22. Because I was bored. I didn't care. I was distracted. I was on my phone. I was not locking in. This narrative did not grab me. And I do think it has something to do with the way that this character is so hidden from you, at least at the beginning, while combined with the writing style just not being for me. So it is time to pick new books. I'm going to be listening to Their Vicious Games by Joelle Wellington. This is my audiobook. Next pick. I got the audiobook free from the library. I got this copy from my secondhand bookstore. Want to read this for sure. I have to get going on dinner, so I'm not going to tell you a whole lot about this. And I'm also not going to pick my next physical read with you guys right now. So I'll catch you in the next clip. I've got some things to do, and I will talk to you later. Okay, hi and good evening. I am actually joining you from a couple days past my last little update for you. So it is Thursday night. And I have had a busy couple of days. Tuesday I had plans, and Wednesday night I also had plans after work. But let me tell you my reading updates. And also, to be fair, if this is a standard weekly reading vlog, this is pretty much a standard week. Typically, I will definitely have like 1 or 2 to 3 plans like per week. So that's pretty typical. So you would expect much more progress in my audiobook listen, which is again, Their Vicious Games, than I've made. I'm around 40% of the way through this book, and honestly only really felt truly connected to it today. Something to note, this plot is insane. I think I've been hesitant to pick up a series like the Brothers Hawthorne or whatever that Jennifer Lynn Barnes series is, I'll put it right here, because of the competition element. Competing for an inheritance, like standing on its own, doesn't necessarily intrigue me, and I picked this book up is because it had that dark academia twist. Is she's not really competing for an inheritance, she's competing for an opportunity. It's not about money. Her motivation is about being given a chance to show up to Yale, where she was accepted until this, basically, she makes a really bad decision, and her acceptance to Yale and all of her backup schools is rescinded. And so because of that, she is basically backed into a corner to utilize what is called the finish. This very prestigious family in their town puts on the finish every year. Non-spoilers, of course, but this has gotten very intense very quickly. There are 3 trials, and before the first trial, something insane already happens that just sets the tone for the intensity of this book. I know that it's YA as far as character, but as far as content, it does like make me think, holy crap, like this is really intense. Which in general, I really do appreciate when I think back to who I was when I was 14 to 17. This sort of thing would not really like shock me or appall me. And it's honestly one of the things that keeps me coming back to YA, is it's always just a little more heavy hitting than I anticipated. Because if we think about it, our young adults can truly handle this stuff. I know this is a bigger conversation to be had, and every parent and every child is going to be different, but like they're already ingesting this stuff in other areas of their life. All that to say, I can see myself like enjoying a book like this if I was a reader during that time in my life. And yeah, I definitely don't think that you should discount YA because it would be like less intense or anything. Really enjoying this. Adina is our main character, and she is so intense. And I do think it's maybe the situation she's in overshadowing like the other aspects of her personality, but she's incredibly focused because she has to be, and she's incredibly intense because she has to be. I don't know if we're really gonna get to see her as a friend or be a friend, because this is not an arena, if you will, to make friends in. So intrigued by this, really loving it, and I anticipate finishing this in this video before the end of the week. Okay, moving quickly along because I don't want this to be too crazy of an update. I picked up Milkman by Anna Burns. This is going to be my book club pick for this month because it is a Booker Prize winner. There she is right there. This is an Irish author. This is set in Northern Ireland and it has a focus on the Troubles. I'm excited to be reading this story. I will say it is an intimidating read for me because of obviously the content. Secondly, because of the formatting is literally bottom to top, margin to margin text. There's not a lot of dialogue at all. At least no dialogue that's like pulled out in a separate paragraph. So when I look at the sheer amount of words on the page, like it is intimidating. I started this really at the beginning. Don't have a lot of concept of the actual plot, and I will not be finishing this book in this video. I'll probably take it really slowly throughout the month. My book club meets the first Thursdays. The last thing I'm going to tell you that I've picked up is my like physical read. So at Milkman I am reading physically, but I'm going to read that really slowly. My main one is going to be Interesting Facts About Space by Emily Austen. This is a kind of weird, girly, contemporary literary fiction by an author I've read from before and given 5 stars to. Not a lot to say about it yet, just started it, I'm 30 pages in. I do have reading time tonight, but it is also Thursday night. We'll be watching some football. I would say this week is going good. I'm definitely ready for tomorrow to be Friday. Just very candidly, as far as what is a typical reading week in my life, these quiet evenings are my favorite. So I'm gonna head out to the library and I'm gonna keep reading Interesting Facts About Space and see how far I can get into that. Hello, I am here to wrap up this video and I just want you to know that I filmed an outro. And then when I was editing the video, so I've completely edited the video. I, 1, hated the lighting. 2, I completely forgot to mention one of the books that I finished this week in my outro. So I'm going to semi-quickly run through all of the books that I touched. This is not typical. We're just gonna go for it. Okay, first, I had 80 pages left in Atmosphere. I finished this and I am going to give it 4 stars, but like I said, it would be a 3.5 in my heart. Not much more to say about this one. And the book that I completely forgot to mention is The Seventh Veil of Salome by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. I told you a good amount about this book and I am going to rate this a 3. It's, again, same situation as Atmosphere. Maybe I should start thinking about rating in the 0.5s, but I just can't bring myself to give this a 2 star on Goodreads. But I did not enjoy this. I'm gonna have to change my rating to a 2 because there's another 3 star in this attack that I'm gonna talk about that I liked so much more than this, and I can't give them the same rating. Yeah, I mean, I told you kind of my thoughts and feelings on this already, so I'm not gonna go through it, but I finished this week and I am really glad I got to it because it's been on my TBR since the summer. Next, I started and DNF'd The Wasp Factory. I think I'm gonna hold on to this like just for now and maybe at the end of the year. If I do an unhaul, get rid of it then. My expectations must have been off as far as the content goes because I was definitely expecting a much more disturbing read, and because it was short, I thought it would kind of get going sooner. I've read a lot of short horror in my life and I love it because it just hits the ground running. It throws you to the wolves. That was not the case for this book. That on top of me really not liking the writing style, it was a pretty simple decision to DNF. Like, I did weigh it up, but after I tried to read and I had a whole night to read and only got through 20 pages, I was like, yeah, this is a DNF. I'll briefly talk about Milkman because I did read some of this. Essentially, we're gonna follow this young woman in the 80s and her family, what she calls her maybe boyfriend, and her community as they walk through this very us versus them mentality that has taken over all of their lives. I did also finish Their Vicious Games and I really loved this book. This is the book I'm giving 3 stars. I wouldn't say that it has like changed my life or that I super connected with it, but as far as the plot goes, I was invested. It does start off feeling a lot more YA because they're at school and because there's like a bully scene, but as Adina actually gets to the finish and the competition starts, it begins to feel more like a thriller. So the tone shift, it just gets much more serious. It just had the air of like a very fun thriller. Even outside of the 3 competitions, when they were spending time at the estate in the evenings, they would have these cocktail parties, these glamorous balls where they had to like talk to the family members. It felt very high society, and there were even like small unspoken rules and tests that they had to pass, and there was side card games and poker games and games of chance, even like sleight of hand stuff. And it made this book feel almost like whimsical while also being obviously very serious toned. I really enjoyed this and would definitely recommend, if you like competitions, if you like thrillers, pick this up. And lastly, I'll talk about Interesting Facts About Space by Emily Austen. I got like 100 pages, a little over 100 pages into this book, and really am enjoying it a lot. This writing is so humorous, darkly humorous, very punchy. The 2 main characters I've read from Emily Austen. So I read Everyone in This Room Will Someday Be Dead, and that character was extremely depressed. And now I'm reading this book, and this character is extremely anxious and paranoid. And so her main characters are oddly unhealthy, but they're also relatable, and it definitely brings a lot of very goofy moments to the page that has this overriding tone of existentialism and serious why am I here questions, especially for this character who is obsessed with space. She's not like an astronaut or anything like that, but she works around space information. My understanding is she like kind of works in programming, where like she helps this company manage a service that like generates definitions of space words. I don't know. She's been fun to read from so far. I know I'm gonna enjoy this a lot. I did not manage to finish this in this week, but I will take it into next week with me. So I hope you guys enjoyed yourself and liked this video of my typical reading week. Again, this is not technically typical. I read 3 books, I DNF'd 1, and now I am bringing 2 more books into my next week. So I'm really happy with all the reads that I had this week, and I hope you guys enjoyed. If you like other bookish content like this, feel free to subscribe. I would love to have you. And other than that, have a great rest of your day. I will see you in the next video. Bye.